2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. We are still dealing with physics here. I just want you to remember that. So says Erich Heuschele, manager of SRT Vehicle Dynamics, to the 20 or so riders he's about to turn loose on a racetrack in the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. We're dealing with physics, sure, but also an earnest effort to defy them with equal parts horsepower and lunacy. Say 707 horsepower or Jeep to anyone who hasn't been paying attention and they just wiggle a finger into an ear and squint at you. Huh? Highs. The world champion of indiscriminate throttle application. Lows. Above $80K, the why not get a question becomes harder to answer. That same phrase, the one with the big number lashed to that old army word, carries the mystical power to convince even the most jaded auto riders to back away from the lobster roll and don a balaclava. We did drive the maximum Jeep on public roads, but it says track right there in the name, so we also hit Club Motorsports. A New Hampshire club track so new that crews were still installing Armco barriers the week before we showed up. It's a 2.5-mile Stairmaster that works its way up and down 250 feet of elevation change at a maximum 14% grade. Keeping his new Trackhawks from bending, that fresh Armco is something about which Heuschele cares deeply. The topography, on the other hand, nobody's too worried about that. Few things flatten the hills quite like this much horsepower. Insane as it may be, the 707 horsepower Hellcat engine should at least be familiar by now. Down 251 cubic centimeters compared with Mober's naturally aspirated SRT engine, it's a 6.2-liter V8 capped with a 2.4-liter IE supercharger, which stuffs those 8 cylinders with 11.6 psi of boost. In the Trackhawk, it makes its full complement of horsepower, but loses 5 pound-feet of torque to 645 due to a more restrictive exhaust system. Caught up in a sledgehammer fight against the V8, engineers applied the same blunt force mentality to the rest of the powertrain. There's a beefier transmission and a stouter transfer case, plus a reinforced rear drive shaft, half shafts, CV joints, and differential. The front axle is the same as the regular SRT Jeeps. That transmission is still a ZF 8-speed, now christened 8HP95, and officially rated to handle up to 811 pound-feet of torque. The transfer case routes torqued forward with a wider chain than in the naturally aspirated SRT, with forged steel sprockets instead of powdered metal ones. 2 wall thickness is up on the rear drive shaft, and the differential housing gains amount, going from 3 to 4. Inside, the diff itself goes from 2 spider gears to 4, with a modified tooth geometry for greater strength. The Hellcat engine alone outweighs its naturally aspirated brother by 108 pounds, and everything after it adds another 105, according to Jeep. But that's for identically equipped vehicles. At 52-58 pounds, this Trackhawk actually weighs less than the last Grand Cherokee SRT we tested, at 52-91 pounds, which was equipped with a panoramic sunroof. Like the Challenger Demon, the Trackhawk gets the so-called torque reserve function to aid launching. With launch control engaged in the Jeep brake torque, this system cuts fuel through individual cylinders, allowing the engine to rev higher and the supercharger to build more boost, 6.4 psi as it sits at the line. Lift your foot off the brake, and the Trackhawk will squawk all four 295/45 ZR20 Peerless on its way to a 3.5 seconds 0 to 60 mph time. We couldn't match Jeep's 11.6 second at 116 mph claim for the quarter mile. Our best run took 12.0 seconds at 115 mph. But the Trackhawk's acceleration made Club Motorsport's 14% grade feel as flat as it looks in Google Maps 2D view, where, incidentally, the track still shows up as a dirt lot, as of this writing. We told you it was new. Our one complaint about the engine is that we want more blower whine when we mat the accelerator. There's a good bit under lighter loads, but at full throttle, it fades behind a raging gargle blaster of an exhaust roar so fierce it sounds as if the tailpipes are emptying into the cabin. The call is coming from inside the house. Barging back down Club Motorsport's hills demonstrates the rest of the Trackhawk's skill set. It retains the SRT's control arm front and multi-link rear suspension layout, but the springs are 9% stiffer up front and 15% stiffer out back. Not surprising for something so heavy, and with so much rubber at each corner, it's quite stable, a desirable trait on a course with lots of camber variances. But toe the brake and it'll rotate. Lay into the brake, and it'll dance disconcertingly, even in a straight line. The steering is a touch slow, but heavy enough for perceptible weight to bleed off as the nose starts to wash out. We have expected to find a fresh furrow plowed around our skid pit after the Trackhawk turns 0.89 grams, and 2.6-ton vehicles don't typically stop from 70 mph in just 168 feet without at least one